Hi everyone, welcome back to Bayonetta on no specific difficulty really, because this is the last chapter, Angel Slayer. The difficulty here is actually the first 10 waves we start on normal, the 20 waves after that are on hard, and the final 20 waves are on Nonstop Infinite Climax. So I'm accelerating the footage right now by quite a bit because it's like we're finding all the enemies we fought during the game, and it's just for the first 10 waves, or even for the first 48 waves, I would say, it's basically just repeat the same strategy over and over. Destroy everything as fast as you can. I suppose if you're actually going for a score, you would take your time because you actually have lots of time to spare to go through all the waves. But I didn't feel like doing that. I wanted to actually beat the last chapter. Because, see, it took me 6 tries, at the very least 6 tries, to actually beat it. Overall, 6 hours. Maybe even 8, I would say. Anyway, the strategy I'm using here is I'm using Sergei's Lover, which is an accessory that basically triples your damage. It's not very useful during the main game, but once you get the Pillow Talk, it becomes extremely useful at decimating all the waves here. Anyway, I'm accelerating through pretty much all of them right now, but don't worry, I'll be slowing the footage down over time and on certain waves, mostly the boss waves. So strategy is what I'm doing is I'm taking Pillow Talk and just charging it and just slashing, because when you do that, you deal tremendous amounts of damage with infinity range, and most enemies take their sweet time getting to you before they even reach you. And with Sergei's Lover, that basically triples that damage, allowing you to finish some waves extremely quickly. Anyway, Jean's right here. Watch her disappear in a few seconds. See how fast that was? That's what Sergei's Lover does. I really wish I had known about this thing's power much earlier on, because it would have helped on some parts, but alas, it was not to be. But then again, to be fair, it's mostly overpowered with the Pillow Talk, the way I'm using it here. It drains your magic decently quickly, but if you actually defeat enemies fast enough, you can actually keep it up at the same level. It doesn't quite work out for every wave, though. Anyway, this is a survival chapter, because although some enemies do drop health pickups on occasion, the health pickups give you very little health, and it doesn't really offset the amount of damage the enemies will be dealing to you, especially in the later waves. So this is where the Star of Bayonetta, I believe, comes into play. If you taunt enemies, you'll actually restore your health fairly slowly but surely. And you can see me doing that right now, just taunting that enemy and refilling my health completely. I had to do that quite often because I goofed around very, very often in this attempt. It's too bad too. There were lots of attempts where I made it to the end very, very quickly, but then got decimated by the last boss. Seriously, I'm not kidding when I say that the first 48 waves are easy. They're nonsense. You should always be able to pass them if you're decent at it. Well, good at this game. I don't want to be hyperbolic with the amount of talent you need to be able to beat this. It really is very difficult. But at my level, it was mostly a case of getting past through the last 2 waves. Wave 49 by itself is not too hard, but then you got wave 50, which is right after, which is, I would say, even tougher, because the opponent you're fighting has a full 5 bars of health. But the wave before that kind of makes you want to spend all your magic on the bricks at a time, but you don't want to do that. You want to have some magic ready for the last wave. So it was unfortunate. Here I was fighting the Big Beloved. He's kind of goofy and easy to handle. The enemies here were tougher to handle because they're all over you. Surprisingly enough, Platinum considers the Ardors to be higher. Well, not just the Ardors, the Burning Ardors to be tougher enemies than Fearless and Fairness, and maybe even Glorious and Gracious, I would say. Because you see them all the way to the end. Kind of surprising. Anyway, I'm fast forwarding this fight even though it's a boss fight, because this is one of those fights where I just goofed around very, very much, just to show how difficult it can be when you don't, you know, just try to cheese these fights. And sorry if I stutter a lot, but this is going to be a long video for me to comment on. I already screwed up several of my attempts at commentary. All I can say right now is that I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I'm done having to play this chapter. It wasn't very fun at all. But yet I had to keep doing it because it's the only way to unlock a certain character. Well, not the only way. You can actually use cheats, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't use cheats. I beat everything fair and square. Anyway, yeah, some of you may have noticed I'm getting completely decimated here because my strategies are not working and 2 Jeans are extremely challenging. I eventually switched to the Evil Harvest Rosary because it's still hard mode. I can technically still activate Witch Time, but Jeans are not prone to letting you activate Witch Time. When you use the Bracelet of Time in hard mode, it doesn't your meter doesn't get spent as fast as it does on Nonstop Infinite Climax. Oh, and one last thing. In the last chapter, you cannot use items, so no red hot shots to save you. And you cannot use the Climax brace. So no cheesing using those accessories. But there are plenty of other things. Like, there's a combination called Police Butterfly and Star Dinetta. Police Butterfly, when you activate it, it basically takes hits for you. And the Star Dinetta, you can use that to restore your health over time, as well as your magic. So those two combined can be used to farm on some tougher enemies safely. Because you automatically, like, you know, the butterflies take hits for you if you screw up. But unfortunately for the butterflies, they actually mess up if you... They don't mess up. If you mess up and try to perfect, like, bat form at hit, that counts as the butterflies taking a hit for you. Even though you bat formed the hit. So unfortunately, I don't particularly recommend using Pulley's accessory, the one that summons the butterflies. There's also the Little Devil accessory. I tried that, it's okay, but once you get crow form and the ability to fire your own feathers, there's really no point to that accessory at all. That's what I feel anyway. I mean, I kind of wrote off Sergei's Lover as not being very useful initially, but in this chapter, it was amazing. There are some flaws though. Sergei's Lover, it doesn't spend your magic as fast as, you know, the Bracelet of Time, but if you get hit, you lose lots of magic all at once, and that can, like, prevent you from, you know, using Sergei's Lover anymore, and you suddenly you're out of magic and you have to rely entirely on your skills. This is not a weakness the Bracelet of Time has, even though it doesn't last as long. It'll come up on the final fight, where there's a big difference. It shows the difference between Sergei's Lover and the Bracelet of Time, what the strengths and the weaknesses of each are. Anyway, those Ardors took quite a while for me to fight. I feel you fight the dogs a bit too often in this chapter. I mean, you fight affinities and other creatures like that even more often, but I don't know. Fairness and Fearless, I feel I fought them way too often. It's because it's always them and them only, except with a few exceptions, of course. Like here, I fight 5 of them, but in a later chapter in the Nonstop Infinite Climax levels of difficulty, you only fight like 4. It's kind of strange the way Platinum balanced them. It also doesn't help that I don't really like their bite attacks. It really annoys me when they catch me. Because they're the type that taunt you when they catch you. Oh, here's another enemy that I fight way too often. The Braves. Fight them more often than I wish. Like, I think there's at least 5 waves entirely dedicated to them. That being said, they're complete like garbage. They're way too easy to handle. Also, I'm healing myself there, but I cut out lots of footage where I was just like taunting the enemies, because it's basically just me taunting the enemies for, let's see, 3 minutes straight, and then I'm done. Here I'm fighting 3 Joys. I'm pretty sure one of the last waves is basically the same thing. Also, I defeated them really, really quickly there. Jeez. But then again, this is hard mode. 3 Joys on hard mode is not as hard as 3 Joys on Nonstop Infinite Climax, of course. Interestingly enough, you fight a glorious and gracious with glory, I think, with all these enemies at once. Basically, it's surprisingly challenging, I feel, because you cannot activate Witch Time from fighting the Gracious and Glorious. So you have to basically dodge an attack from the glory. Anyway, boss fight. No, that's not a boss fight. That's what's his name? Golem. This is I actually used a completely different strategy for this guy. Or rather, no, I used a completely different weapon. I used Shuraba and just constantly do Wicked Weaves. Because you do not want to fuck around with this boss. I fucked around him on the second time you fight him. Yeah, you fight him the second time. And that actually cost me an attempt to go all the way to the end. It's also because, surprisingly enough, the Pillow Talk is not very good against this boss, I feel. Simply because you cannot do Wicked Weaves with Pillow Talk. Like, you could always, you know, use your leg weapon for the Wicked Weaves, but the Shuraba's Wicked Weaves are very, very strong. Anyway, finally done here. I kept using the mix of punch, kick, punch, Wicked Weaves, and just, you know, direct Wicked Weave with the sword. And now we're actually doing the boss. Only one Jean, but a Gracious and a Glorious with her. I feel, though, that this is easier than Versus 2's boss, which is simply because it did not accelerate this footage. Because the Gracious and Glorious pretty much stay out of the way, for the most part, leaving you with an easy time focusing on Jean herself. Not to mention, this time I don't fuck around and just use the Bracelet at a time to get rid of one of the enemies right away. It helps a lot. Anyway, yeah, basically because there's only one Jean, she's not on your face as often as two Jeans would be, allowing you to easily charge up Pillow Talk, and Pillow Talk, when Pillow Talk is charged, you deal crazy amounts of damage, particularly to enemies that are right up to your face. Anyway, you really want to pick up Grace and Gracious's weapons, the Burning One's weapon, because it's very useful. And I believe Sergei's lover even works with it. So you can basically decimate opponents with that. Anyway, I'm on verse 4 now. So now it's Nonstop Infinite Climax. You take lots and lots of damage if you're not careful here. And yeah, right here, I'm already starting the recovery process for my character. You want to have at least 3/4 of your life bar full for every fight. And for the final 10 waves, you probably want it full as often as you can. When you reach wave 47, you really want to... It's basically the last time you ever get to farm enemies for magic and life easily. Because after that, you fight the Graciouses and Gloriouses. And then it's wave 49, which is no joke. And then wave 50 is the final wave, and it's no joke either. Of course, this is my opinion based on my 6-ish attempts on this chapter. You don't want to try to farm when there's several enemies in place, so don't try that. And yeah, look at how much health I lost right there just by fooling around. And the easiest enemies to farm health from are probably the trumpet affinities. They just fool around too much. Or yeah, actually I think it's because the trumpet affinities, they can only fire like one shot at a time for a good 10 seconds. Leaves you plenty of time to get health from them. Oh, Sergei's lover? I don't know how to stop it from activating, weirdly enough. So to disactivate it, I basically just unequip it on the main menu. Well, equipment menu. Also, that was an interesting wave right there that I did. There's lots of those rain enemies that are on the floor. Like, I would say almost 20 it feels. And you have to take care of them before they keep, you know, harassing you. Fortunately, it's very easy when you have Sergei's lover activated. Oh, also, as far as enemy weapons, make sure to always pick the bow when you can. And here, this is an interesting wave, I feel. You fight two Beloveds, very, very easy. And then you fight the big Beloved, who is also very, very easy. But because you just defeated two Beloveds, you get to use one of their weapons. And if you jump on the Giant Beloved and attack with their weapon from high enough, you can actually destroy this guy in a single hit. It's very, very cool. Unfortunately, in this run, I didn't manage to pull it off. Almost did, though. Only one Grace, and then one more Grace and 2 Glories. No challenge at all. But I get a neat weapon out of it. Yeah, right here, I use Sergei's Lover combined with Grace's weapon. I'm pretty sure it worked in conjunction. Which would actually be crazy if you could use it on one of the bosses. And you probably can, if you're crafty enough. One of my favorite ways of dealing with the enemies here is just jumping on them. The Kilgore rockets, when you jump on an enemy, are surprisingly effective. You probably don't want to try that on Fairness or Fearless, though. They're very good at catching you while you're in the air. Yeah, I definitely want to use the bow. It's just amazing. Because it deals so, like, crazy amounts of damage. Oh, for this wave, fighting Fairnesses and Fearlesses, I actually use torture attacks to get rid of the enemies fairly early on because I don't like them. I mentioned this before, I really don't like them. At the very least on this wave, it caused me lots of grief. Also, I decided to farm on this enemy. If you're gonna farm on one of the dogs, Fearless is the better option. It spends much more time just fooling around compared to Fairness. Fairness has a tendency to always try to bite you, while Fearless has a tendency to walk around with its tail high up trying to, you know, hit you with it. Took unusually long for chapter to load that thing here. Is this the boss? Yes, it is. It's 1 Jean and 2 Joys. Jean is her highest level of power here, and I actually completely panicked in this boss fight. I used Sergei's Lover at the beginning, but then I blocked Jean's attack instead of dodging, and because of that I wasn't able to fully charge up Pillow Talk. That being said, I was able to do it here, but unfortunately I ran out of magic. Right here. Ran out of magic, no more Sergei's Lover. Fortunately, only Jean is left, and it's only 1 Jean, so it's not that hard. Come on. One of the best ways to deal with her is to just charge Pillow Talk, and when she inevitably tries to attack you with hopefully one of her slow attacks, you just dodge and either dodge again or just you hit her with a fully charged Pillow Talk.